Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Now, if you remember back to the last giveaway bowl we made, which was the Padauk bowl, well, this is all the shavings that came off when we were drilling holes into it. Now, there's a lot more than this. There's a whole huge sack of it. And this is probably one of my guilty secrets. I keep a lot of the shavings from previous bowls in order to do something with at some point in the future. So this is Padauk. We've also got African Mahogany, Yew, Black Walnut, London Plain, Beech, Laburnum, Poplar, Cherry, Elm, Normal Oak, and Brown Oak. Yeah, I think there's a few more as well, but I can't find them. Right, and today's project is all about using a lot of these in a single piece. Now, I bought a 3D printer a few months ago thinking that I'd be able to use it for some sort of wood turning piece. Now, I've mostly been using that 3D printer to build things for the workshop, tools, gadgets, holders for my tool wall and other bits and pieces, but today that's all going to change. My initial idea was to print something like this and then put all the different woods into one of these sections with a bit of resin, cure it and then turn it. I like that idea. We're still going to do it, but I'm going to make one a little bit larger. This is about 9 inches across, 2.5 inches deep. So let's measure out some resin and some shavings and get started. Okay, right, I think we've got everything we need now to start mixing our resin and preparing the wood shavings so we can get it into our form at the end. Now, I've chosen 8 different woods. We've got Yew, Padauk, Black Walnut, Laburnum, Elm, London Plain, Cherry and African Mahogany. I've gone for this range because they're quite nice woods in themselves and there's a bit of a colour variation between them all, so hopefully it'll look okay. To enhance the colour a little bit, I am going to put in a little bit of different coloured mica powder in there as well, just to try and accent the differences between them. Whether that's a good idea or not, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right, so I've done some calculations. The overall capacity for our form is 2.28 litres. When that's divided by 8, it gives us 285 millilitres of resin to fill up each pocket. Now, we don't necessarily want to fill it all the way to the top with resin because we're going to have wood in there. So again, a few calculations have worked out that I want to try and aim for mixing 8 lots of 240 millilitres. Then we'll add the shavings, and that is the mix we're going to put into the form at the end. Now, once I've mixed the wood into the resin, I'm going to put it into a vacuum chamber to try and eliminate as many of the bubbles as I can, because I think that's going to be one of the main problems with this technique. Right, so let's get started. So we need to get 8 lots, 240 mil. So we're going to be using the Let's Resin Deep Pour Resin, which is a 2-part resin, and it's 2-to-1 ratio, so I need 160 millilitres in each of the 8 pots, and then add another 80 millilitres of part B. We'll put the colours in, mix it up, and then we can add the shavings. Okay, that's our resin all measured out, so now I'm going to add a small amount of mica powder to each one. It's not going to be a lot, just a little bit. Okay, that's all the colours in. Let's mix these thoroughly. Okay, that's all the colours done. So I'm going to add one of these woods. I don't know how much to add, so I'm going to start off with the African mahogany, and we'll play it by ear. I'll add bits at a time, but I do need to get it pretty well saturated, I think. Okay, now it's got a fair amount in. It looks pretty well packed inside, so maybe just a fraction more. Okay. Excellent. Right, first one done. Now before I do the rest, I'm just going to quickly write on the pot AM for African mahogany. I'd like to try and keep track of these when I put them in the mould, so we know exactly which one's which for posterity. Last one is our black walnut. Okay, all done. Okay, next step is we're going to put all of these into our vacuum chamber, suck out the air, and then we can put it into the mould, which will then go into a pressure pot. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a time-consuming process, so I'll bring you back when they're all done. Okay, all our pots have been through the vacuum chamber. Most of the air is out, but I don't think all of it is, so we are going to have to rely a little bit on the pressure pot to do its thing. So we're now going to put these in here without making a mess. We'll start with this one first, which is London Plain. So I'm just going to make a note on the side here, LP. I think my idea about not making a mess is a little bit naive. I feel like I should be using chopsticks. Okay, one in. A little bit escaped. So we'll just drag that back over there and shove it in. Right, next one. Well, there we go. All done. Looks like a starter plate for 8. Okay, well that's it. I'm going to get this into the pressure pot for about 4 or 5 days, and then we'll take it out and see if we can actually turn it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I have no idea if this is going to work. Okay, right, it's out the pressure pot. It's not quite what I expected. Before I take this off, I did want to say quickly that it has been quite warm in the workshop over the last few days. Now normally this would take 4 to 5 days to cure, and it's taken 2. So temperatures may have got a little high. And also, please bear in mind, this is the first time I've ever tried this. And I think, in general, it's the first time it's ever been tried by anybody. So there is always things to learn. Yeah, I know. As you can see, the walls from my 3D printed form have distorted quite a bit, as well as the outside. So we don't have it round anymore. And I'm not quite sure exactly what's going to happen when we start to turn this. There is a reasonable chance it'll just completely disintegrate, but until we start, I have no idea. So it's hard, it's firm. I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll get this on the lathe and find out. Okay, so far so good. Okay, we're on the lathe. It seems fairly secure, but looks can be deceiving. And I've just changed to a different live center with a flat base. It's like a little hole in there, and this is going to lock over the top, hopefully, and give us some sort of protection. Right, let's see how fast we can get this. I'm going to stand well back. I've got remote controls. Okay, that's about 940 RPM. So I think the first thing to do, I'll grab one of my new Pro Comfort carbide tools, and just so I can work at it from this side, I'll just start to clear some of this material from the top. I think that's a good first thing to do. I will at some point have to come round and start working from here, but before I do that or get to that stage, I want to see if this resin will adhere to these barriers we've got in the middle. Because if they don't stick properly, if they're not properly cured to it, then there's a chance of this whole thing flying apart as soon as this outer rim is removed. Oh, why do I do it? Right, let's clear off this area. Okay, I've got my nice robust face shield to start off with. I'm going to be starting off with the round carbide. I would normally use the rougher on this, but I just want nice gentle cuts as I'm peeling this away. So I think this is going to be the safest option at the moment. Okay, that's a pretty good start. The walls between the resin sections seems to be continuous. I can't feel any difference in that joint, so it looks like we may be okay, but it is still very much early days yet. Now, when this is cured, it's obviously got very, very hot and it's distorted these walls. Now, that could possibly be cured by making thicker walls, but the problem I have is that I made these walls 0.5 millimeter thick. If I went to 1 millimeter, then it would try and infill the wall itself, which means that it wouldn't be solid. So I've got to try and work out a way of getting that done and making thicker walls, or ensuring it cures slower, which means moving my pressure pot to a cooler place. There's lots of experimentation to do, but so far we're doing okay. It hasn't fallen apart, in other words. So I'm going to carry on with my round carbide. We'll flatten off the rest of this, and I'll just start working from this side, trying to clear some of this outside edge. The last thing I want to do is work on this outside edge with myself in this position here, because that is just asking for trouble. I've got an incredible face shield which will keep me safe, but I still don't want to be hit in any way by anything flying. Looks like it's snowing in here. Okay, to keep myself safe on some of those cuts going up the side, I'd moved on to the roughing carbide, mainly because it's got a flat back and I can hold it nice and stable as I'm working up there. The detail carbide has a round back and that cut wouldn't have been so easy. We removed most of the edge and it's holding, more to my surprise. So I think we're going to be safe. Okay, I have no idea. Oh, we're making a bowl, obviously, but I have no idea what shape this is going to be. It's not going to be too dissimilar to what we have now, I think. So it's a nice, useful, deepish bowl for sweets or something like that. So I think I need to flatten off the rest of this base. So I think I'll worry about that for the moment. We've got ourselves relatively safe in this area for now. Okay, the base is coming on fine. I've still got a few lower areas here I need to cut back, but I've changed my mind in terms of design. Now this is a pretty unique bowl. No one's ever tried this before as far as I can find out. It hasn't gone entirely to plan so far, but I still want to make a feature of exactly what it is. So if you remember way back when I turned the Thoya pieces into a kind of like almost like a spaceship size piece, where it would blend in from the corners like a big discus with a hollowed out with a small bowl in the top. I think I want to do that kind of design for this, because I think this white line we've got, although it's not straight anymore, having that lead up through the bottom, through the top, and then into this shallow dish on the top, is going to be quite striking, and it's going to accentuate the look of all these wonderful shavings that we've got inside. And I've got a feeling that they are really going to look quite nice. So I'll start working towards that, which means that I've got to slope up the base to pretty much halfway up here, which will be around there, I think. I'll create a foot with a recess and then we can start on the top. But I like the thought of that style for this piece. It's not going to be necessarily easier to do, but I think it's going to show it off to its best. Right, I absolutely adore working with resin. However, it does have a couple of downsides. Right, shade's coming along nicely. I've just moved on to the roughing carbide, and that's taken it away nice and quickly. I'm getting more confidence in this piece now that it is going to hold together, so I can take slightly larger cuts. I don't need this glove anymore because there's no more shards coming off. Okay, now I've just started to create the shape of the foot there. It needs to go in a little bit deeper because we've got to flatten all this off, which means it's getting rid of these dips that we've still got on the top. But so far that's looking nice. I can't see anything happening with these borders at all. They all seem completely solid, so confidence is definitely building. Okay, still all going well. Now we're getting close to our point on the top here, so I'm going to move over to the detailed carbide and start doing finer cuts on here to refine the shape and to clean up the surface. Okay, that's made a beautiful job. Got a small air bubble there, but I can just drop a little bit of CA glue in and that will cure that, I have no doubt. Right, I'm going to take the tailstock away now and start forming a recess on here. I've got to flatten this bit off first and then I'll mark it out and cut it. Okay, That looks pretty good. Right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. Okay, sanding went beautifully. I'm just going to clean it out with a bit of isopropyl alcohol. This will just get all the dust off the surface, and it'll give us a first impression of how this is going to look with a finish on. Wow, I like it. I do like it. Okay, so I'm going to let this evaporate, and then we'll come back with a sealer, cut back the surface, then with an abrasive paste, and then put some sort of polish on. Okay, plenty of time to dry, so on with the shellac sealer. We'll let this dry, and then back with the abrasive paste. Okay, all nice and dry, so back on with an abrasive paste. We buff this in with its spinning, so I'll just put on some eye protection. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. It's completely free, doesn't cost you a penny, and it makes an enormous difference to us. And don't forget that if you do leave a comment as well, you are going to be entered into the giveaway the next time we do one. Okay, that's all good. So back on with isopropyl alcohol just to get any remaining grit off the surface. You can really see quite a long way into those shavings, which is brilliant. Okay, it's all nice and dry, so we're going to go on with a hard wax polish. This is one I made up a while ago. It's beeswax, Caranoba wax and microcrystalline wax. There's no solvent in it, so we don't have to wait for it to flash off. As soon as it's applied, we can start buffing it in, which again we will do with its spinning. Okay, right, I'll take this off, turn it around, and we'll start on the other side. Okay, nice and safely turned round, tailstock as usual. Now, I've got to remove this plastic disc. This was the base of the mould. We're going to start coming across this very, very carefully because it could splinter, it could shard, a lot of things could happen, and I don't want to get hurt. So, face shield back on, glove on. This won't give me an awful lot of protection, but it'll do a little bit. And I think we're turning at about 1,000 RPM. Okay, excellent. Right, we've got rid of most of that. There's no surprises, which I am really, really happy about. So now we can mark out where we want our bowl to start and then start shaping. Now, halfway between there and there, is there. See how that looks. Is that too small? I think it's a little bit too small, so we'll just start it there. Okay, right, I'm going to start making this curve now from the outer edge of this white line to meet our line down here. Easy. Okay, shaping's going well. Everything's getting covered. If you've ever wondered how long it takes to clean up after a resin project, well, it's a very long time. Hang on, it's all over. Right, shaping's going nice. I just need to sort out some of these little chips on the edges, so I think I'll take over with the refining tool and start cleaning up the surface and this edge. Okay, that surface is looking good. I've got a small dip there where the resin hasn't quite filled. I'm really quite surprised it wasn't more, but it's done very, very well. So I'm just going to take this down a little bit lower to get rid of that, because I don't necessarily want to have to fill it. I will do it if I need to, but if I can get rid of it by turning it away, that's always the better option. Okay, excellent, we got it. Right, I have taken away my line from my bowl, but that was deliberate. When you're reducing the size of a surface, sometimes you have to start moving lines to keep everything in balance. So I'll just redraw that back on. Where should it be? About there, I think. We can start taking that out. I'll get the tailstock out of the way, get rid of the rest of this whiteness, and then start hollowing that out. Okay, looking very nice. I do love this white line. I would have loved for it to have been straight, but I really do like it. Wow, we're so close. Still got a little hole in the centre there from the brad point bit, but it's really looking nice. Right, we'll keep on going a few more passes, maybe a dozen passes, and then this will be done. think that is about as much as I want to do. Right, let's clean up this edge. Got a couple of chips there, a couple of last passes down here, and then I think we're done. I don't think I can expect anything better than that. We've got a nice curved rim here, so it's a very, very kind of organic, as opposed to being a hard rim like a normal bowl. It's a soft edge in, so it's, I don't know, something about it, I like that. Right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I'll bring it back when it's done. Okay, sanding was nice and straightforward, so on again with isopropyl alcohol to wipe off any excess dust. And again, a first look at how the top's going to look. I'm starting to relax now. This has been a very tense one. I had no idea if this was going to fall apart or not, but I think we're relatively safe now. Okay, right, we'll let this dry. I'll come back on with a sealer. Okay, all nice and dry. So back on with our blonde shellac sealer. Let this dry once again, and then back on with the abrasive paste. Okay, all nice and dry. And with copious amounts of abrasive paste, we'll give this a good going over. Make sure we can get out any of the sanding marks left on the surface. Get ready for our final finish. Right, safety glasses are on. Final wipe down with isopropyl. Just remove any grit that may be left on the surface. And then back on with the final polish. Okay, final finish. Same wax again. Beeswax, carranoba wax, and microcrystalline, all in a linseed oil base. I'll put an extra coat on the back. Okay, let's rub this in. Okay, I'm going to take this off, have a bit clean up, and then we'll take a final look at what we've done. Well, there we go. An amalgamation of 3D printing, 8 different types of wood shavings, and resin. And I don't know how, but we managed to get it to the end. It really was quite a fun process. And now we know it works, sort of, we can experiment and take this further. If I can just get the curing temperatures right, and we don't get this warping, then it kind of opens the door to a whole new range of different turnings we can do. Basically, the sky's the limit. There's no kind of end to this. If you remember, a little while ago we turned a maize bowl out of sapele, and a lot of people said you need to do a round one. Well, using this technique, round ones would be an absolute doddle. No problem at all. If we can just get the temperature right. Now, despite this setting in just 2 days, the resin did absolutely amazingly. I had feared for thermal cracking, which is something that can happen when it gets too hot, and there's nothing there. It's absolutely perfect. I've used Let's Resin products now for quite a while, and they have always been absolutely fantastic. They've never let me down once. It's magnificent stuff. If you are wanting to give this a go, there's always discount codes in the description below to where you can get Let's Resin products from, and there's discount codes as well. The other thing to note is how well the Record Power new set of Pro Comfort Carbide tools worked. If you haven't seen it, I did a review of these tools a couple of weeks ago. They really were in their element making this piece. Absolutely faultless. And there we go. The world's first amalgamation of 3D printing, resin and wood shavings. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this one, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. Don't forget that if you do leave a comment as well, then you are going to be entered into the giveaway the next time we do one. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Okay, shaving's going well.